y'all, I'm Elisa, the Scrappy Wife behind ScrappyWife.com, and today I have kind of a faith journal process video for you. I'm going to be setting up my journal for the True North study. It is called True North, Navigating Life's Storms, and it is from By the Well for God. At the time I'm recording this, it is out of stock, but I know they're planning a restock, so make sure to check the links below and I will update them as soon as the restock is available. This month I am planning on using a disc bound system. I have these black metal discs from the Happy Planner that I'm going to use, and I'm going to use my journal to create a disc bound system for notes for this devotional. So I will make sure to end up linking everything I use down below. Otherwise, let's get going. In the past, I have done the disc bound system where I cut apart the devotional and put it on the discs, but this time I'm going to make a completely separate notebook because I want the devotional intact, and then my notebook is going to be able to travel pretty easily with me. So I'm starting out with some of the digital papers that you can purchase that go along with the kit. They are in the By the Well for God Etsy shop, and I am in love with this one. This is the cover of the kit. It is so beautiful, and now we have it on a digital paper so we can print it over and over again, which I love. I am trimming these papers down to traveler's notebook size, which would be 4¼ inches by 8¼ inches, and then that's what the black papers will be, and then the digital paper will be just matted on the inside, so it's just slightly smaller. I kind of toyed with the idea of making a larger book for this particular devotional. I was thinking perhaps a 9x9, but then I just ended up getting a little bit intimidated by that size. So I decided I'll just stick with traveler's notebook size because that is a size that I'm used to. So maybe I'll try a 9x9 for a different one. Maybe Advent. I think that would be a great time to have a little bit larger of an album. So I'm just going to use my Tombow runners. You can see I pulled out my extras because I knew I was just about to run out of that particular runner, and I am just matting these on nice and simple. It's going to be a beautiful cover, and it will mimic the cover that is on the devotional. This is also giving me a chance to use these brand new stamps, the Naomi stamp set, which are just a beautiful font. So I'm going to use this font to write out the title of the devotional, True North, and I just like the delicateness. Even though these are so big and will have an impact, they're still pretty delicate. I'm rubbing it on my arm. I know that looks pretty weird, but when you have a brand new stamp set that you haven't used before, sometimes it has like some stuff on it, if that makes sense, some like oils, and rubbing the oils from your arm onto it kind of prime the stamp and tend to give you a better impression. So I'm not just crazy. That's a lot of stampers do that I've seen online. So, and I really feel like it does give me a better impression. So I am working out True North. I probably should have stamped North from the back, like started with the TH. Instead I started at the beginning, and then my other letters end up being slightly squished onto, they fit completely, but it was a little bit more squished than I anticipated. So normally I do stamp and write from right to left, if that makes sense, just because spacing wise that's how my brain thinks of it, and I have no idea why that would be the case, but that's just how it happens. So you can see it barely fits in there. It gets a little bit crunched there at the end, but that's okay. These are the new acrylic pens that I bought from By the Well for God. They are the Archer and Olive brand, and this is the white one, and I'm using it. It's hard to see here on camera, but it's adding just a little bit of a highlight, which will really help the word pop off, especially the word north that is right on top of that image. Adding that white line really helps it pop off nicely, and I am in love with these pens. They're already on my list to get all of the colors because It's just such a fine tip, and the acrylic works so well in your journaling and in art journaling especially. I'm just trying to be really careful that I don't mess up the tips of these pens because they're really nice tips. I really like how fine they are, and I don't want to mess them up. So I'm being really careful, and I think they're pretty durable from what I can tell so far. So just a little bit of a highlight there on the title. And now I'm just going to punch my cover here with the Happy Planner punch. It doesn't take very many pages at a time. So I'm lining it up really carefully to make sure it'll be pretty evenly spaced. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull out the discs that I have. Now these were in my stash already. They were from the Be Happy box this summer, and I thought the black discs would be really nice. I would have loved some dark blue ones, but I could not find any. So if you know where to get dark blue Happy Planner discs, let me know. I went with the classic size, which is kind of the medium size. You could definitely go with some smaller ones, but I knew that I was going to be packing a lot into my notebook, and so I went ahead and went with the classic size. Plus I had those black discs in my stash, so I totally believe you should use what you have. Speaking of using what is in your stash, I'm actually going to use this traveler's notebook and the gorgeous white paper that's inside it to make up a bunch of my other journal that I'm creating. So I love the paper that By the Well for God prints on, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And in their traveler's notebooks, it's the same paper that they print their devotionals on. So I figured I'm just going to go ahead and use that paper. So here I am. It's already trimmed. Part of it's trimmed down. I'm just cutting each sheet in half, and I will end up, I think I actually end up with 16 pages, and then I will count out 14 of them to use in my disc bound system. And I am using a couple of different papers. So the plan is to have a paper for scripture, to have a paper for note taking, and then to have a paper for art. And the note taking and the scripture will actually be front and back of the same piece of paper. And I decided that because I know this devotional is going to be just chock full of lots of scripture references, and I just anticipate that there's going to be a lot of note taking and a lot of things I want to write down. And so that's why I opted for a notebook this time around, to work in a notebook outside of my Bible, just to give myself a little bit more room to work. And that doesn't mean that I might not do some entries in my Bible every now and then, but it won't be for every devotional day. Okay, you see me here working with more of the digital papers, and this is just one of those water brushes. And all I'm doing is drawing a water line diagonally across each sheet of paper, and that makes it a little bit easier to tear the paper and to control where the tear is going to go, if that makes sense. So I'm just able to easily tear along the diagonal, and I don't have to worry about it getting wonky and not tearing where I intended it. So it's like a controlled chaos kind of situation going on. I am going to use this paper to embellish what is going on these pages. So I'm going to add a little torn piece to the top, a little torn piece to the bottom, and I will continue that same pattern using several of the digital papers. And this just adds a little bit of embellishment to my note-taking and my scripture pages, just to give them a little bit more interest. You can go through, you could stamp on all these pages, you could use your stickers, you could add washi. There's all kinds of things that you could do just to add a little bit of embellishment. And for me, it brings me joy when I see that beautiful paper and see everything kind of coordinating together when I'm about to dig into the study. And it's already done for me, already ready to go, so I don't have to add artwork during the actual study part. Now, the art pages that I'm going to add in will be done after I study the devotional, after I've taken notes and done the scripture study and all of that. So that's kind of the plan for this time around. My kids are starting virtual school, so I also know that I won't be in my craft room as much because they will be in the basement on their computers doing virtual school, and I will most likely be at a table down there helping them every few minutes and studying and working in the time in between. So this is going to make this very portable for me. I already have all my project stuff gathered in a bin that I'll be able to easily take downstairs. So it'll be a little bit different not being in my craft room to study and work on all of this, but that's okay. That's why I'm prepping it in this way, so that I will be all set to go. You can see that I finished adding all of the digital papers, and then I went ahead and punched those with that same Happy Planner punch, and I'm going to add the word scripture on the front, and this is the True North Lower Alpha that comes in the kit, and it's also just such a beautiful, delicate alpha. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. So I'll start with the beginning of the word and do script U, because then I will repeat the R after I've done the stamping. And I'm trying to see if I can add it at the top, but really it fits really nicely over here, going vertical on the page, which is a nice change. I think that's a little bit unexpected. So I'll add that right there, getting a nice impression, and then I'll just kind of do this assembly line style. So I will stamp each of those pages. It looks funny just saying the script U. And then once I've stamped all of them, then I will clean off those stamps, go back, put the RE on there, and then that page is basically done. I end up adding one more stamping embellishment later in the video, but it's nice and simple. I can run these through my typewriter if I want and add the scripture, or I can just handwrite the scripture, or if there's a lot of scripture references, I could just list them on that page. So it kind of depends as I dive in. Lots of people have different techniques with these devotionals, including on the creative team. Some of the creative team members dig in and read the entire devotional front to back, like the second it lands on their doorway. Some people read a few days ahead and then kind of prep how they're going to do their artwork. I like to take it as I go, if that makes sense. I don't want to read ahead because I want to study and kind of walk through the devotional in that way, because I know that the authors intend for us to kind of take this journey with them. So I like to just do a little bit of prep, but not box myself in, if that makes sense. The truth is that you need to do whatever works for your style of learning, though, because I know that people have all different styles of learning. I can see it within my 3 kids. I know how I learn best and how I like to study best. And so these are, decisions that you make just based on how you like to learn. So now I'm on the back of all of these same pieces of paper, and I'm adding just some more stamping embellishment, and the back is going to be where I take notes on each day. So the front will be where I list scriptures. Some of the days I'll be writing out the scriptures. Like I said, it depends on what that day brings. You can see I'm trying to see if I got off on my colors, which I did, and that's fine. I like patterns, and so I wanted it to be in the same pattern, and it just is not, so it ends up being a little bit random. So I'm adding assembly line style, some more stamping on the back. I'm doing the ship wheel, and then I will be doing each of the 3 compasses that are on this particular stamp set, which is called Roses and Wheels, and they will just add a little bit of decoration to the back. Again, lots of white space because I want to have places for lots of notes as I go. I have heard so many people that are just in love with the nautical theme of this devotional, and I can't agree more. This summer we did not get to travel anywhere because of COVID and some other circumstances. My husband's in the military, and they put a travel ban or a travel freeze for most of the summer. So we didn't get to travel, and I missed getting to go to the beach or just staring at water. Water reminds me of God and His majesty and His power and His beauty. I just love the ocean. It does something deep to me, and so I miss it, and I love that we have this theme on this devotional, and I just know it's going to be some great content as I dive in. Now I have grabbed the True North Upper stamp set, and I am going to simply stamp out the word notes at the top of each page. Nice and simple. I love the little hint of black. And again, assembly line style is how I create most of these notebooks. You could certainly do this day by day, but for me, I know that especially for the scripture writing and the note taking, I will most likely be down in the basement and doing that while my kids are on Zoom meetings, and I'll have, headphones with some worship music on, and they will have their headphones on, and we'll all be trying to do different things at different times. So that's the plan this month. One last little embellishment here on the front of each note page. I love these little position marks. I'm not sure what you call them. They're like the little drop pins that you see on a map. And these you can layer. And for some reason, I didn't get all the layering video in here, but I'm stamping the solid piece in a color that coordinates with the paper. And then I'm going to come back with one of the other pieces and stamp over the top with black, and it adds some nice dimension to those. And these are going to be how I label what day I'm on. So I kind of toyed with making some dividers that have the numbers on them and changing it up, but this is nice and simple, and I have the freedom to add more things. That's the beauty of a disc bound system, is I can make this into more of a junk journal type thing, just depending on how I'm inspired as I'm studying. But this way I have all the days labeled. I'm using my little alpha tiles here, 1 through 14, and that way I know I have one for each day and we are ready to go and start the study. And I actually opted to go ahead and add the month and the year to the front, which I like to do on the devotionals because I do usually work through it in 1 month. And so I'm just adding September in 2020, and it just still feels weird to me to be writing 2020 because I just think back to January and think, remember when we were all so excited about 2020 and all of its possibilities? And then, man, what a year it has been. So it's okay. It's been a year, and God has taught us a lot of lessons this year. That is for sure. So I'm adding in my pages that I have made thus far. And again, this is why I love the disc bound system, because I can take these out. I could rearrange them if they got in the wrong order. If I mess up a page, I can just remake it and take one out and put a new one in. I like the freedom that this system gives me, and I think it'll be fun to add in some different bits and pieces as I go. So those are the scripture pages and the note pages. Then I am just going to cut some blank pages that are going to be my art pages. So I have this watercolor pad from Arteza, and because so many of the images have this gorgeous watercolor feel, I thought a watercolor paper would be super appropriate. So again, I will just be cutting these down to the same traveler's notebook size, 4 1/4 by 8 1/4, and then I will punch them all with the Happy Planner punch, and then just insert them into my notebook for every other day. So that way they're in there. I can take them out when I work on them, since I will be doing some mixed media and some watercolor and things like that. So I can take them out, work on them, and then insert them back in. But this way they're all ready to go. So just sticking them back in every other day. As I am wrapping up this notebook, I look over and I see the Traveler's Notebook cover that is part of the one that I took apart, and I think it's gorgeous, so I'm just going to add it in to my notebook because why not? I'm just trimming it down. I actually end up just cutting off that little bend because it was a bit larger because it was the cover, and then I will just again punch that, and that's going to be a great place for me to write my beginning prayer and the introduction, and then I always like to have a prayer at the end of a devotional, or at least a page for some overall takeaways, so that will work fantastic for that, and I don't waste that Traveler's Notebook cover because it was gorgeous. Okay, for the last big step, I decided that I could add a pocket onto the front and back cover, and that way I'd be able to keep some ephemera pieces and some stickers, just have it right with the devotional. So I'm going to use some of the coordinating paper. It was really hard to decide which paper to use because I love it all, but I went with these waves, and I'm going to adhere them to the front and back. You'll see, just like you would normally make a pocket, which you can see I just cut it at a diagonal, and then you add adhesive to 3 sides. for some reason on the front I forget to do one of the sides, and I end up adding it here at the end. I'm like, oh, oops, forgot to add that in. So adding that in, and then I'll add it in the back. And then what I'm going to do is laminate the front and back cover. Since this devotional is going to be a little bit more on the go for me than I would normally do, it'll be traveling from my craft room to the basement and back. I'm going to laminate the covers, and then once it's laminated, all you have to do is use your scissors or something sharp to go over where that pocket is and open up that laminating section, and then it's a pocket again. So I remember watching my mom do this. She was a teacher, and I remember her making like those library card pockets and those boards for when kids come in the room and they like put their attendance in there. So I'm glad I got to see that. This is my laminator from Amazon. My husband gave it to me as a Christmas present, and it is like the best thing ever. Love, love, love the laminator. Love the sheets from Amazon. Super easy to use. Now I just punch it, and then I come back with my scissors right there, cut a little slit, and there you go. It is laminated and ready to go and nice and protected for, you know, a little bit of travel. And then I have a little pocket there so I can have my ephemera with me. And that is my journal setup for True North. I'm excited to jump into this study. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe button as well as the bell notification button. I have all of the supplies linked down below. Heads up, those are affiliate links, and I thank you in advance for supporting this channel. I hope that you have a fabulous day, and as always, keep it creative.